Ahoj, tak všichni online?
Já jo.
Taky.
A ty, babi?
Babi,
Musíš tam na to kliknout. Ne na to
babi,
druhý.
musíš tam na tu ikonku.
Sluchátko, babi.
Vypadáváš.
Hi everyone, my name is Catalina Martínez. I am the Senior Regional Director for Latin America and the Caribbean at the Center for Reproductive Rights. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this event where we will discuss this wonderful film Fly So Far in the frame of the 14th edition of One World International Human Rights Documentary Film Festival in Brussels. One World in Brussels is organized by people in need in cooperation with the Czech Center Brussels, the European Parliament, and the permanent representation of the Czech Republic to the European Union. I want to say thank you to the organizers of this festival and of course to the panelists of this event. And I want to start saying that this film is very powerful. It portrays very well the process of Teodora, her story, and the story of several women who are or were in jail for the same reason as she was. I must say that several human rights organizations have been supporting Teodora's and other women fight, and I feel very honored to say that the Center for Reproductive Rights has been one of these organizations. Actually, together with organizations from El Salvador, we represent Teodora's case and other cases before the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. So before introducing our panelists, I want to remember the audience that we will be receiving questions from the viewers. If you want to make some, you can make your questions via YouTube or Facebook by making comments or using the app Slido. And you can read the information to know how to access Slido on the screen. So personally, for me, it is an honor to talk today with the protagonist of the Fly So Far documentary, Teodora Vásquez, who is connected from San Salvador. Currently, she is the director and coordinator of the association Mujeres Libres. So I want to welcome Teodora, and Teodora, if you want to give some welcome words, please go ahead.
Bueno, muy bien. Bueno, buenas tardes.
Okay, hi, good afternoon. In Salvador, it is 1 p.m. now. For me, it is also an honor to be able to participate in this such a beautiful event which has been performed or is being performed. And thank you for the invitation, and thanks for I'm right here at your disposal, and I'm happy to be able to participate and to be part of this event.
Thank you, Teodora. For me, it is also a pleasure to introduce Selena Etcher in this space, the director of the documentary. She's a Swiss Salvadorian filmmaker and activist. So welcome, Celina, and congratulations on your wonderful film. I give you the floor to say hello.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's an honor to be here. It's really important to talk about this issue because in El Salvador, abortion is still prohibited and the women are still in prison. So it's very important that we talk about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Celina. And I am very pleased to hold this conversation with you both. You both are women that I admire and respect. So I feel honored to be able to moderate this conversation. And also because, as I mentioned, the center has been working alongside with partners in order to support the fight for the liberalization of abortion laws in El Salvador and the freedom of women that have been unjustly imprisoned under the circumstances that we all have watched in the film. And this allows me to begin this conversation about what is the film about and what is its purpose. And would like maybe to start with Teodora. Teodora, I would like to know, how did you feel when you watched the movie for the first time?
Bueno, quiero decir de que yo sé
Okay. I mean, I know what a story is about. It is based on my own story. But even the first time I watched it, I cried because I know, even though I know it is me, there's a moment of homesick, of sadness, of seeing how the Salvatorian justice takes you to imprisonment and to be in difficult situations that no human being deserves. And I think that for myself, likewise, watching the video of the documentary has marked me because it's my story recorded pretty much. And of course, if we think ourselves from the first moment in which I get to jail and everything that happened in those 11 years, I believe that we we can make a documentary of a full day because time wouldn't be enough to say it all. But we show the most essential things, and I think it is important to see to see it, to watch it, and to be all my story reflected there, and that everyone knows about the reality of the Salvatorian women, because many times we many times governments are um, showing the reality in a decorated way, but the reality is a different story. We women are being discriminated, are being violated, or and I think at no point we have a space that we deserve within the Salvatorian state. That's why it is really necessary that that movie is or that film is watched. And for me, it is important that the reality of the Salvatorian women is known.
Thank you, Teodora. And I am curious. Could you let us know why did you agree to participate and be the protagonist of this documentary?
Bueno, yo creo que estuve de
Well,
acuerdo
I believe I agreed on participating and on being the protagonist of this documentary, the lead protagonist. Um, it'll be unfair from my end if I don't help these stories be conveyed and disseminated, things that are happening in our country. And when we are protagonists and survivors of this justice that we have in Salvador, and for myself, I think it is an opportunity. I proposed to myself since I got to jail, no matter how long I was in jail, that the day I was set free, I was going to complain. I was going to claim because I was being imprisoned in an unfair way. And for me, recording this or filming this documentary was to make one of my dreams a reality, was to complain, was to claim in that our stories are not repeated in future generations, that it is no, and that nobody um, thinks that we're living in Wonderland. We are living very critical times. And if we those who have gone through these situations do not speak out, nobody's really going to know. And that's why I believe it is very important for myself to be the protagonist, the lead actor of this story, not to show off, but to generate a change so that women can have a better future and so that future generations do not have to go through a situation like the one that we went through. That's what took me to be the protagonist and to say that yes, to say yes. And I have to say that there were some moments in which I got tired. We have achieved it with a lot of effort. We made it. And I think that's very important. It's love and it's hope that we have of knowing that at some point women are going to have a space within the Salvatorian space is a dream. Is a dream, and even though in my life I'm not going to see it, or probably I don't see it, I won't see it. I am certain that future generations will see a change because the seed was planted, and that seed is going to give fruits at some point, and that's the answer that I have.
Thank you, Teodora, and thank you because I know these are very difficult times and a very difficult context, and thank you for remaining very strong, and we really admire your courage in this fight. And now I would like to ask to Celina more about this documentary, and maybe we can start talking about what did you want to express with this documentary, Celina?
Well, Fly So Far follows Teodora and the 17 in the struggle to regain their freedom. And due to the criminalization of abortion, they have been sentenced up to 30 years in prison for having obstetric emergencies. So the film tries to answer this question: how is this even possible? How is it possible that women who had a miscarriage or a stillbirth are criminalized and accused of aggravated murder for 30 years of prison? It's also a portrait about Teodora's life, around 11 years of her life. We follow Teodora's journey from being a victim of a misogynist and classist system that criminalized abortion no matter the circumstances, to a women's rights activist. So it's about her process of empowerment. Also, it's a reflection of a system that punishes women for being women. And also, it's important to highlight that it's about the collective resistance and the sisterhood between the women inside prison. So the sisterhood inside prison has inspired me also to do this film. And I dedicated this film to the 17, but it's also an homage to the working class women, single mothers who live in the countryside, who fight every day and struggle to feed their families. And these are the working class women are the ones who are affected by this total ban of abortion. What is important is that we want to contribute to the struggle for the liberation for the 17 and for the decriminalization of abortion. So the film is a part of a bigger struggle that the feminists have been fighting for so many years, and they are continuing to fighting. I think the right to choose is something that goes beyond borders, and it's an issue that is relevant for all women in all countries.
Yes, Celina, I totally agree with you, and I think that you have started answering another question that I had, but I wanted to do it anyway, and is, if you have a personal motivation, what is your personal motivation to choose this specific topic of women and reproductive rights?
Well, the first motivation is to contribute to the struggle for the liberation of the 17 and to the decriminalization of abortion. This is the first thing. But also we want to open up a dialogue about the right to choose in El Salvador. And I hope that the audience can see and feel the reality of the Salvadorian women who are living now. And also we can reflect how the patriarchal system oppresses women and takes away all the possibilities to decide over their own bodies. I hope also that the audience can be inspired by the strength and courage of Teodora and the 17, and hopefully take action to support their fight for freedom and justice. So by sharing Teodora's stories, we want to open up this dialogue for women's rights and reproductive justice in El Salvador, demand the liberation of the 17. We want to create awareness and invite the audience to take action. So we want to make an impact. We want to change the reality of the Salvadorian women. With the film, we're working on an impact campaign with different women's rights organizations and human rights organizations. So we're reaching out who wants to support the 17. Also, we're reaching out for allies who also want to join this fight. So what we want is to change and transform the reality. So we hope that the film can also be a tool for organizations So we can talk about the right to choose in different countries, but yes, specifically for El Salvador, for the Salvadoran women.
This is wonderful, Celina, and maybe I would like to hear more from Teodora. Teodora, Celina was telling us that one of the motivations of making this documentary was to make an impact, to really create change in El Salvador by making visible what is happening there. And I would like to hear from you, what impact would you like the documentary to have in the country, Teodora?
Bueno, realmente yo creo que la parte del documental.
Well, really, the part of the document that I would like to highlight more in the country is about violence that we women are going through or living, the violence that we currently are living, and that has been generalized up to now. I think that for myself personally, it's very important to talk about that because it is an endless topic and it's the issue that we have right now that's concerning because we think that it can go even worse. So I think the right of women is especially what we need to highlight. And I believe that in the documentary, it is properly designed and showed for the problem that we have here in the Salvatorian states. And I believe that for myself, that will be the most important thing.
Thank you, Teodora. And maybe Celina, just to finish this first block of questions, we would like to hear more about how was the filming and the construction of the documentary.
Well, filming in El Salvador is complicated.
Bueno, proceso de
Political and religious context, but also El Salvador is one of the most dangerous places for a woman or a girl. That every day women and girls get raped. This is what's happening. So they are experiencing everyday life violence. So this is the context. And then we had we were filming in the prison. So this is another really a challenging filming situation because every time I went into the women's prison, I had only 2 hours per visit. And to get to the permits to film into the dorms, I had to wait for around 2 years to get this permit. So all the filming took around 3 years. And when we went into the prison, they had to check, for example, all the gear. There was like a big process just to entering the prison. And I was also followed and guarded by the prison guards. So this is like in a way, in a stressful situation where you have to film. So on the other side, we had lots of material after 4 years of filming. And we had around 1.5 years of process of editing. So it was really difficult, not only about the filming process, but also the editing process was difficult because it's also a subject that is really charged of many violence and traumas. So it affected me during the filming. As a person and as a filmmaker, affected me a lot what happened and all the stories of the women because they shared their stories with me. And I'm really grateful that they trusted in me, their stories. And I admire the 17 so much. They are survivors of physical violence, sexual violence, obstetrical violence, police violence, and state violence. So it's a structural violence and misogyny against women that only affects women who live in poverty. So all the time during the editing, I had to keep this in mind, and also it was really challenging for me to work on this because I'm also a Salvadorian woman and I felt everything deeply what happens to them, and I have a connection with the protagonist but also with their families. So it's really it has been a challenging project, but I always reminded myself why I'm doing this, why it isn't so important, why the world has to know all the injustice that women are facing. So yeah, this is but with all the help of all the crew, the creative crew, the editors and animators and everybody, I think we managed to tell their stories, and we tried to tell the stories as best as we could. And in different ways, with music, through music, to photography and the editing and animation. So it's the idea is that people can feel and understand with all this, with all the work that all the artists have created. Yes.
Thank you, Selena. And the result is an amazing documentary, a documentary that really portrays a very difficult reality. And I think that also supports the human rights fight in the country. So thank you. Thank you for this work. I would like to remember to the audience that you can make questions in any time if you would like to know something about this. And while I receive some questions from you, I would like to address a second block in this conversation that is about how the world is watching El Salvador, no? And we cannot forget that many women remain in jail due to unfair processes. It is calculated that in El Salvador between 1998 and 2019, at least 181 women have been arbitrarily detained and prosecuted illegally for reasons associated with abortion and obstetric emergencies. In fact, we were talking before the beginning of this event that just 2 days ago, a tribunal of El Salvador has ordered the release of Sara Rogel, a woman with a very similar story, sentenced to 30 years in prison because she suffered an obstetric emergency in 2012. And even knowing that Sara is a beneficiary of a decision of the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, who not only found her detention as arbitrary, but also recognized the context of criminalization and persecution of women in El Salvador due to the absolute prohibition of abortion. So taking into consideration this context, this documentary does not end the fight. The fight will end when no woman is in jail because of obstetric emergency or abortion-related matters. But this documentary does contribute to gain this international visibility and to keep talking about the situation in El Salvador. So saying this, Teodora, maybe I would like to know more about if you felt supported by the international community when you were in jail, no? How the international community supported you in the process of your freedom, and yeah, let us know more about that.
Pues mira, la verdad es que
Well, really describing all the support that I received from the international community, I think I could fall short in words, because thanks to this collective support of national organizations as well as international organizations who joined to fight for my freedom, is in 2017, I was in an audience where they confirmed my sentence to 30 years. But in that process, we could gather 250,000 signatures that were sent to the legislative courts to demand my freedom to the Salvatorian state. Thanks to that, I received my freedom in 2018, February 15 of 2018. And I think for myself, as I can say, this without these international powers, I would still be in jail. So for myself, it is really very important that Salvatorian women have international support. Since nationwide nobody wants to listen to us, pretty much we're not heard, and pretty much we are discriminated, especially if we're of low income and from rural areas. I think for ourselves is way more complex. But well, I can just say that without the international support, I would still be imprisoned.
And Teodora, you fought for your freedom, you know, like you lived your own process, but now you are also fighting for the freedom of the other women that continue to be in jail and other ones that have been freed in the last couple of years. And I would like to know more about your process, your personal process to start telling your story to the world and becoming an activist for this fight. It would be great to know more about that.
Fíjate de que te escucho bien cortada la voz, no logro comprender qué es lo que me estás diciendo. Bueno, creo que en primer
Well, I
lugar,
think, first of all, the personal process was courage because, quite frankly, when seeing so much violence against women, seeing so many women in prison, paying for a conviction of a crime that they did not pay, at some point, I've, I felt that that I had to do something, that something had to be done to change this story. But being enclosed, tied, completely tied, I couldn't do anything. Thanks to all the support that I've received, as I repeat, I recovered my freedom, and I think that that was the time for me to start to put into practice each of the ideas that I had in the process that I was inside the prison. Because when I got to know about the injustice that was being made, I repeat myself for myself, it is very unfair going through what Salvatorian women go through to stay still, to stay quiet. So I think one part is courage, and one more thing is that if we do not talk and if we just stay quiet, these cases will continue to be cases that do not come to light. And for Salvatorian, everything continues to be normal. Really, now I'm proving that one of the needs existing is to make a change. How are we going to achieve change? By talking among ourselves with the ones that have gone through an experience as difficult as this one. So I think it is very important, really. And from there, I started with the need of becoming activist on this issue. It's very complex because being defender or advocate of women, especially on this issue in Salvador, is very difficult because we are discriminated, we are mistreated, and even sometimes verbally as well as physically, we can be mistreated in the Salvatorian states by being defenders. Well, just facing a struggle, facing everything that comes up, we're willing as free women in El Salvador. We've organized that we're only women that are being imprisoned by obstetric emergency. We've organized ourselves because we felt the need of being heard. And how we're going to achieve that? We're just going to be able to achieve that as a team. And that's why I consider that it is good that we talk among ourselves, and that's why we have all the willingness and all the desire of continuing the struggle and to breaking down all these barriers that came across and that affected so many women, to be able to break them down so that our friends can recapture their freedom, can recover the freedom, and that way they can join their families again, their children again. That's a struggle that we have. And for myself, in the personal aspect, it's a commitment with a lot of love, with a lot of appreciation for women.
Thank you, Teodora. And I have a follow-up question from the audience on this. And it's, how many of the 17 and plus women are still in prison today?
Me está preguntando a mí, sí.
Question for me, right?
Ok. Vaya, en este momento...
Okay, at this time, it's an undetermined number, it's an unknown number, because as I said, the story has not changed yet, and even we could say that now we have 18, but we could tomorrow we could have less or more. So it's an unknown number, undetermined number. But right now we have 18 women.
Thank you, Teodora. And Selena, I would like to know more. You had the chance to work with Teodora very closely, but also to meet other women that were or still in jail in El Salvador, and maybe I would like to know in a more personal way what is the most relevant characteristic that you admire from the women you meet and from the fight that they are giving.
Well, what I admire most is their strength to keep going, because I saw the circumstances in the prison, in the women's prison. I visited around 3 different prisons in El Salvador, and I saw that it's very difficult to survive there. Like there's lack of medication, little water. They live in a really small place with so many people. It's around 200% overcrowded. And so to experience this and to survive all this, also to survive all the violence they have experienced, from the hospital to the trials and from the guards and the police. So they have survived so many things. So this is the strength is what I admire so much. And also the sisterhood they have woven inside the prison, how they support each other, how they are there for each other. I think this is the most inspiring thing. As Teodora said, they are in a way another family. So they have been supporting them there, and they are keep on fighting. So every day they survive this place that it's prison. They are keep on fighting also because they want to see their families who are outside. And so, yes, I think their strength is what inspired me the most, and has also motivated me to make this film, and it's so important so people can see it, and I hope more people can be inspired by their strength and be motivated to do something about it. Yes.
Thank you, Selena. I totally agree with you. And I am curious to know how, or even if the work of women's and human rights organizations have influenced or contributed to the creation of the film that you made.
Well, at the beginning, my first approach was with the citizen group for the decriminalization of abortion. This is a feminist and human rights organization that with human rights lawyers, they are defending the 17. And so they're working every day to release the women. So through them, it was the first approach. And then during the process of filming, I have met many other organizations along the journey. For example, in the trial of Teodora, I met people from the Amnesty International and also from the Center for Reproductive Rights. And also when we went to the European Parliament in 2018, also I met many other organizations there, and also I accompanied Teodora in her European tour. So everybody who was involved in supporting the 17, we met along the way. And they are also now the organizations who are interested, and that we are also interested to work with them so we can make this impact campaign, and so we can make a real impact and a change for the Salvadorian women. So it's, yeah, this has been really an intensive journey, but I think it has been really important also for me to to talk with other people and other human rights defenders about what's happening, and to see other people who are allies and who are in the same fight. So it has also helped me in a way, and yes, motivated to keep fighting, and because I see there's a lot of support. So I think we can do many things together, and also the film can be a tool for all these organizations, so we can talk about the right to choose in El Salvador.
Yes, thank you, Celina. And I have a question here from the audience for you, and is regarding the pro-life politician that has quite a big space in the film. And the question is he the sole face of pro-life in El Salvador, or have you chosen him for another reason?
Well, he, for example, he is the politician who proposed to increase the penalty to 50 years for having an abortion in El Salvador. And he is trying, well, he tried to put together the same, you know, that the crime of abortion is the same as aggravated homicide. So he was doing many things in the parliament. Luckily, he's not anymore in the parliament, but now the proposal to decriminalize abortion in 4 cases has been sent to archive. So this is also a really a situation that it's really that we are really worried. From the other side, we have different pro-life men who represent the pro-life. We have the Catholic Church, we have the Evangelical Church, we have this organization that is called pro-life, and then we have the political party from Arena that are also pro-life. So it's something systematically, it's not just one face, it's something that has to do with all the system, all the juridical system also. We can see only in the constitution that they changed the constitution, and it says that life begins at conception. So we can see that there is no a separation between state and church. So this is something structurally that affects women who live in a situation of poverty. So also, so you understand that this law only affects these women, and women who have enough money go to a private clinic, the police don't show up, nobody puts them in jail. So this is something that is really only affected women who live in a situation of poverty. So this, so we see that it's something systematically, that the patriarchal system is oppressing women, and specifically women who are in these situations. So there is not only one face, it's something systematically.
Yeah, there is a pattern in El Salvador of international discrimination that is very, very present. And to finish this second block, I would like to ask to Teodora. Now she's the director and coordinator of an organization called Mujeres Libres, no? And I would like her to let us know more about what are you looking for with this organization.
Bueno, primeramente,
Well, first of all, to organize ourselves as free women has been the first thing, which means empowering us, empowering ourselves, empowering women, so that first of all, they recognize that, and that would start again reinsertion, because this is a very complex issue in El Salvador. When we recover our freedom, we have criminal backgrounds, and those criminal backgrounds do not allow any entrepreneur to hire us. If we're going to knock a door in a company, the first thing that they do is to ask us for a clearance for a criminal background. And if we've been in prison, they do not give us any work, any job. If we want to start our own business, we cannot, because we don't have any job for the capital, for the money to start. So pretty much, when we leave prison, it's way more difficult because if we get to jail poor, when we leave jail, it's even worse because now even our families have left us. So
Necesidades de
I
mujeres
think that one of the needs of mujeres libres, free women, is to be able to start up, is to be able to have something, a tool to be able to survive after being paying so many years of imprisonment, because some women have been 15 years, 17 years in prison, and when they leave totally um, homeless and with no family.
las metas, es uno de
So
los
that's one of the goals.
de mujeres libres, es
That's
lograr
one of the objectives of Mujeres Libres, of free women, is to empower women, is to make women have better opportunities, is to make our children that we already had can get to have an advanced academic level, is to be able to have a collective business, a home, a house, because now we're renting a very small space in order for us to be able to have our meetings, but it's not enough. So that's one of our projects because also the reason is that when we leave jail, women do not have anywhere to go because the relatives are not going to uh, bring them to their houses. So these women have to live at the streets when they leave jail. So we consider necessary a place for them to be able to
consiguen algo
live while they get somewhere or something they can survive of. And that's one of the goals by which we've organized ourselves. Currently, we're working in different components, which has been quite difficult, but we are making it. The first component that we have is, and that I'm going to say very quickly, one of our first components is the psychological assistance, because psychologically we've been deteriorated. Our system is being deteriorated because after so much discrimination and everything we went through, clearly from the loss of our child to leaving a groove and in the jails, and then of course psychological care is necessary, and then healthcare is necessary because as healthcare inside is not assisted, many of them live with chronic diseases, and we need to assist them, and after that to get a job for them. And we cannot find an employment with dignity because where they work they've been exploited. They're not being well paid because really there are no opportunities. Because what is it that we have to do as free women is to be able to get to do a change of this story of those women, of being able to change that this complex system that we have right now. If we don't have a support, a government support, or that there is a government institution that support us, to be able to find support from international agencies in order to be able to cover those needs of women. That's what we're doing as free women.
Thank you, Teodora, and thank you for the work you are doing in Mujeres Libres. This is a very, very important work and really gives second chances to these women that recover their freedom. So I would like to talk now in a third block, third and last block, about the expectations you both have for change in El Salvador. I know that we have already discussed some of them, but maybe we can have more reflections on this. We just saw in the documentary how the total abortion ban in El Salvador has terrible consequences for women. But let me summarize in some steps how this works. No, this follows a very clear pattern, as Celina was saying, a pattern, and this pattern is very well portrayed in the documentary. No, we have women who live in low outcome and rural areas that do not have access to quality health care. This includes prenatal care, and when the women suffer an obstetric emergency such as a miscarriage or a stillbirth, health healthcare workers are forced to denounce them, and because of the stigma created by the total prohibition of abortion, they are accused for having an abortion, and then these women are unjustly and arbitrarily detained, and they face criminal prosecution without guarantees and are in prison in some cases for aggravated homicide. It's outrageous what is happening in El Salvador, and knowing this context and this situation and these cases, I would like Teodora to know more in this process, in your process as an activist, since you were since you were released from prison. Have you been able to talk or hear the opinions of doctors and police officers about this issue?
En realidad sí.
Really? Yes. I've been able to hear this opinion from physicians, from doctors, and really it's fear. It's fear that takes them to complain, to report. They know that if they support a woman who has had an abortion, they go to jail for 4 to 8 years for being also for supporting it, and that's what takes them to report all kind of abortion, and no matter what the situation is. Physicians have been reporting, and that's why many women have gone to jail. I had the chance of talking to a doctor, and I was asking her on why she reported, and they said, well, you know what, I know that it's part of professional ethics, but many times professional ethics is interrupted by the same fear of going to jail also ourselves. So I think it's one of the issues that many women have taken many women to jail because of the system that we have, the system of justice that have convicted women is because of the complaints or the reports that they receive from physicians or nurses, and also being able to get conversations of police officers. I've even asked in some opportunities some people who are police officers, and they were asking on why they were complaining in these cases. If really they find a woman with the baby dead, we'll have to investigate first to know what has happened and to be able to support that woman and to be able to take them to jail. But it is the same on how should I say this? The stigma that we have. Pretty much the Salvadorian state will take you to jail not only because you made a crime, committed a crime, but because they believe that a crime has been committed, because they think that whenever there is a woman that's that just went through labor work and the baby is dead, is because they killed the baby, and their own it's because of their own criteria that they've convicted women without any arguments. But for the same reason, judges end up convicting these women without having enough proof, enough evidence. I can say that in my case, because in my case there were not enough evidence, or there was not enough evidence so that they could have certainty that I had committed homicide to my newborn. But anyways, they convicted me just for the fact that I was a woman, just for the fact that I was poor, just for the fact of finding my newborn dead in a place where but it was only me, and the only responsible for the homicide was me because I was there. But they do not investigate further beyond what's a naked eye. They did not investigate, and that's the reason why many women have gone to jail. And I think this system is very complicated, and I think changing it for myself, I see it as very difficult. But what I'm sure of and convinced of is that we're not going to give up. We as women, likewise, we're going to continue uh, complaining, because if we don't do it, even if a man says that they want to help us, they never have an experience as the one that we have. So I believe that it is very important, really, that these kinds of conversations are given so that the reality of the stories is known, because many of us think and just punish for the fact of seeing, but without investigating.
Thank you, Teodora. I totally agree that stigma and fears played a fundamental role in what is happening in El Salvador, and I truly believe that we need to continue giving these conversations. So I am very pleased that we are having this conversation today. I have a question from the audience, from both the speakers, that would be important for you to consider, and is it dangerous for you to be in El Salvador after the film came out, followed by sudden interest from the international community? Theo, maybe we can start with you and then with Celina.
Well, as you know, I'm currently living here in El Salvador, and really, I believe, as what I was mentioning at the beginning, for as defenders of human rights, and especially talking about abortion here in the Salvatorian state, is very dangerous, because right now we don't have the documentary in El Salvador, but other videos, other films have been made, other films have been recorded, and really, in my case, I am recognized by everyone. If I go to the corner, very quickly they tell me, "Oh, you're Teodora," and clearly they know the crime and the crime I've been accused for, especially discrimination, mistreatment. Many times we've come across with people who say, okay, those are the abortion promoters or murderers of children, or they just grab a stone and they just try to attack us. But it's been very dangerous. But at the same time, I think in my case, I'm going to take from my personal point of view. We've we've gone through so much discrimination already. It's been way too much what we've gone through, that even fear, we've lost fear.
Thank you, Theo. And Celina, I know that you're not currently living in El Salvador, but maybe you can weigh in this question by saying, if when visiting El Salvador, do you feel any danger for the fight that you are giving and being so public with this topic?
Well, yes, as Teodora said, we haven't showed the film yet in El Salvador. We hadn't had a Salvadorian premiere, but we're expecting to have this by fall, I think. I am worried what will happen in El Salvador, because we know all the, the conservative point of view and the religious point of view in the Salvadorian society. So I think it's dangerous. Also, there's now a persecution of women's rights activists and human rights activists. So this is in a moment where everybody who is defending human rights is in a way in a dangerous position. So there's a persecution for women's rights defenders. So we will see what it happens, but it's important to keep the eyes on El Salvador and to see this process, how they will react for this film. I hope also that the international community can have their eyes open and watch what's in El Salvador, but also we need international support and pressure so they release the women who are unjustly in prison, and also that the Salvadorian government change the abortion law, because abortion is a human right. It should not be a privilege. But yes, I'm very worried. So what will happen? And I hope also the audience and the international community can keep their eyes on El Salvador.
Yes, Selena, I totally agree with this message that you are giving to the international community, and please know that we will be giving this fight together with you in El Salvador, from NGOs and international organizations, you know, like that are several eyes in what is happening in El Salvador regarding women's rights. So yeah, you're not getting this fight alone. And saying this, I would like to know if, do you have any new or audiovisual plans around this topic, total bans on abortion in El Salvador, or around reproductive rights issues in your projects?
Well, we're working now on the TV version of the film, so we hoped to broadcast it soon so more people can know what's happening in El Salvador, and more people can engage and take action to support the 17 and the right to choose. We're also working on the impact campaign and a webpage for the film. So we hope that more people can engage through the webpage. I'm working on other different projects. So it's the project in a way overlap, but it's all about women. And for me, it's important to make film about women and women who inspire me and can also inspire other women and girls. And yes, it's important also, I think, to show different kind of women in cinema, and also that to talk about the political and the social context of the person. I think that's also important in the cinema that I'm doing. Yes, but I cannot talk about so much about the next projects. But now what's in the center of my work is the impact campaign, that we want to make a change in El Salvador and support Mujeres Libres and the 17 who are still inside prison, and the process that it's happening in El Salvador. So we hope that abortion can be decriminalized, not only in the law, but also in people's minds. That also it's important for us.
Thank you, Selena. So I am afraid that we just have 5 minutes to close. So if you or Teodora want to say some last words on the documentary and the work you are doing in Salvador, please go ahead. Selena, if you want to start.
Well, I hope with this film people are motivated to take action and to do something about what's happening in El Salvador. I just wanted to say that every day that these women are unjustly in prison, their human rights, their fundamental human rights are being violated. So it's so important that you can join this fight. Because abortion should not be a privilege, should be a human right, and all women and girls should have the right to choose over their bodies and lives. Yes, I hope that you can join this fight to release the women and to change the abortion law in El Salvador. Thank you very much for this invitation.
Selena, for your work and your documentary. It is really, really amazing. Teodora, if you would like to give some last words.
Bueno, no, yo solamente darle las gracias por la
Well, I
invitación.
just wanted to thank you for the invitation to talk about the documentary. For ourselves, it is very important that we talk about this, because we believe that we want to reach a lot of people who do not know about the problem that we have in the Salvatorian state, and likewise to achieve the freedom of our friends in prison, and that our story is not repeated anymore.
Thank you, Teodora, and thank you for the fight you are giving El Salvador each day, and I want to echo both of your last words. It is time to release the women in El Salvador. It is time to liberalize abortion laws in El Salvador. So thank you again, Teodora and Celina, for talking about this and for this wonderful film, Fly So Far. And thank you everyone for being part of this conversation and being part of One World in Brussels. Thank you.